So today we have Kartik Iyer on the show. Kartik is a podcast host with IVM. Kartik's show is called Football Shootball, right?
Correct, yes.
So tell us about your show, Kartik.
Hi, Aditi. First,
Hi.
good morning.
Good morning.
Football Shootball is for football fans,
Okay.
for Bollywood fans, because the three of us, three boys do the show.
Okay.
We're old friends, me, Shivram and Gaurav Sapre.
Okay.
We were one day sitting, we usually sit on a couch and we chat about football. One day we had a phone with us, so we decided to record ourselves. By chance, we met Kavita and she's like, why do you want to sit on your couch and record it? Come to the studio and record it.
How nice.
We're big football fans, we're big sport fans, we're big Bollywood fans as well.
Okay.
So we're out, I think it's every Wednesdays, sometimes Thursdays, our weekly episodes. So go check it out on the IVM network and any other major podcast platform.
That you listen.
Yeah, you know the drill, right?
I know the drill. Yeah, I'm learning actually. I'm new, right? I'm learning the drill. Any other platform you listen your podcast from. So tell me, like, why sports? And I know, like boys are generally crazier about it than women, but sorry, such a stereotypical concept. Sorry, girls. So what is the idea? Like, why were you so fascinated that you decided a career in sports journalism?
I don't know. I guess it's playing. So sport is for me is a lifestyle.
Okay.
And it should be one. So I never, even in school, went for. I used to study in Bombay only. In state board in Bombay only.
Okay.
So there was the norm of going for tuition classes.
Right.
Like school
All
ke
of us
baad,
went.
all
Yeah,
of us went. I didn't.
You didn't?
No, my dad never forced me to. So
nice.
neither my dad nor my mom ever forced me to go for a tuition class. So I was like, I used to be down most of the time and finding various groups to play who didn't have their classes.
Right.
So I grew up with that, and it's been fun once you get into a game. So I enjoy cricket, I enjoy football, I enjoy any other sport.
Okay.
Probably barring golf.
Okay.
I don't think I can get with golf.
Okay.
But yeah.
Until you play it, you never know. Yeah.
Until I play it. Yeah. I think playing would be fun, but I think I need to make a lot more money to play golf, to be able to afford to go
the
on
whole process to be there is expensive. I agree.
No, that's true. So that's why sport, and then in this day and age, you're lucky enough that you can make money out of a living out of working in sports. So that's what I do. I currently work with ESPN.
Okay. So the format of my show here is where I would look at your handwriting, talk to you about, I would ask you certain questions, and you can talk about your situation in life, how you deal with it, what are your hacks, and if you have any questions, you can ask me.
For sure.
Yeah? So do you have any questions for me before we begin?
I don't currently know, but I was told to write a para. So I think that paragraph is in front of you.
And you have done it very diligently. It's like all. So you have smaller handwriting than most average handwriting people. That means generally, and I say this again, a stereotypical comment, but South Indians, culturally are the people who would not go out there and like talk to people.
Okay, introvert.
Introvert is also like their space around themselves is like protected.
Oh yeah.
They would not jump in and begin the conversation. A Punjabi at a party, you would know when the person walks in, which is also stereotypical, but most of the people, I use it as a handwriting size example. So
if I can interrupt,
yes, please.
Aditi, you kept saying stereotypical. I think this is the third time.
Fifth time.
But I think stereotypes, the reason they're called that is they come from a certain level of truth somewhere. So I don't think you need to be so
apologetic about
saying stereotypical.
I'm saying this because for me, handwriting and personalities are all about types. They create patterns, and once you start riding that wave of a pattern, you start exploring a person through that.
Okay.
So when I say, a South Indian person with a reserved space also shows the handwriting being smaller. So there is a pattern and a connection to that. So when you have anybody who is with a slightly smaller handwriting can know this about themselves, that they are not somebody who can jump into a social conversation with strangers easily. They take time. Once they are comfortable, when they feel that the other person has a kind of common ground to talk or something that they agree with, then you can open up. And then like for you, football, once you know that the other person is also into it, or Bollywood, you would jump in and then you would speak a lot. But till you break the ice, it takes time. And that is how you are.
It takes me days. It could take me days. And this is, at some level, I have been told, and I know this for a fact, that it comes across as a bit snobbish.
People misunderstand that as being snobbish, for sure.
I think it's misunderstood at some level. Sometimes I am snobbish. Okay. Like this, I don't think I'll make no bones about it. I am at times, but at some times, because That's interesting because it does take an effort. I've always felt, even when I've joined a new school or a new college or a new master's college, it has taken me a few days even to speak openly with, say, even a roommate for that matter. We're best friends currently. But
initially it took time.
Initially it would. And
which is a natural process.
Correct.
For you, it is slightly longer. That's exactly what I was trying.
So the thinking, at least that's what I believe when I think about this, and I know this for a fact, that I am like, let the other person open up first. It's kind of slightly shrewd in a way. You tell me your deepest, darkest, dirtiest secrets, and then I will
say hi.
Yeah, I will think about whether we need to continue with this relationship or not. But yeah.
Yeah, you mean friendship. Yeah, like not even like a deep relationship. Just a friendship.
Yeah.
Okay. So, one interesting part that I was pondering about, that once you open up or you become friends with people, you have friendships for years to come. You take time, but once you're in there, you nurture those relationships. You accept people a lot. So whatever happens in the beginning of the relationship or friendship, or how you break ice, are separate things. But when you're in there, you are truly available for those friendships or relationships.
Yeah,
and you fight with them for that relationship a lot. Like if you don't agree, you're that friend who would say it, who will call out on the bullshit. You're like not somebody who would like hide it or try to like be kind or flowery about it. You would say it for what it is.
Yeah. You're considering I have taken that much effort, they have taken that much effort to remain a friend of mine throughout my snobbery and all the initial stages.
Yeah, so if they have survived through all the stages, why not? You might as well be a friend and not pretend to be one.
Yeah. So either way, it goes both ways. Aditi, if we continue talking for the next 3-4 days, you may have a friend for life and so will I. It is, my thinking is in that way, in terms of it. Again, you're saying very positive things, and I don't know if it's positive, but to me it is in a way. And so I can picture it, because the people that I've known, say today, we're in 2020, are the same ones who I've probably met in 2005 or 10.
Wow.
In this last decade, I think, considering I'm 30 now, so just to give context to anyone listening. So, in this last decade, it's obviously after college you meet fewer and fewer people, or at least you spend sustained time with fewer and fewer people.
Also the true friendships. Correct. In that sense.
So I guess in a way, because we've got past that initial barrier and spent more time together, and I'm not someone who will open up very easily,
right,
or be open to reciprocate someone else's words very, very easily. So I think it does hold true that once you make a certain bond with someone, you don't let it go without a fight.
I don't know about you, but not about like, it's not a general comment. It is about you specifically. As a person, you're like that. So some people also have great college friends and they don't continue.
Yeah.
Right? They move away and then they do not keep in touch. You're that friend. Once you're a friend for life.
Yeah.
Which also means that if people do not communicate things with you, if they do not hold that space, if they decide to walk away, it's not easy for you. You take a lot of time for letting people go.
Yeah. Have I? No, I'm trying to think now. If I ever had to try and face such a situation, maybe one time actually. Probably once that I can picture.
Okay.
Someone who you were close to, you're not in touch with anymore, and here I'm not talking about a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I'm talking about a friend from college as well. And these I do hold. You can call it grudges. Why not?
Yeah.
Like you do hold, and sometimes my wife would tell me that when you talk about this person, suppose we talk about old stories all the time. There is that bit of bitterness in
your heart for like
in your voice it comes out. I don't know how far in my heart it is, but it's at least there in my voice, and I think I make it pretty obvious that I'm not the type who lets things go pretty easily. It doesn't mean I'm some vengeful
of course.
But I think when it hurts.
Okay. So Karthik, there is a space of you being your best critic. Can you explore that? Like you don't require other people to criticize you. There's a part of you which is constantly there, like as a third voice.
It is, but is that again, now thinking about it, is that the best way to be?
I don't know best or worst, but the first part of it is just to explore, just to like know whether that part exists or not. The very moment we realize there is a part of me that is constantly criticizing me, then we can talk about whether it is good, bad, where it helps, where it does not help. But most people have that voice. Some of us have that voice very, very strong. And that voice stands in the way of doing what we wish to do. So it's like some people have the voice, okay, if you tried this new idea, you may fall. Another voice would say, you remember you fell that time, you cannot do this, don't go that way. So that critical voice stands in the way and kills the dreams that you have. So I'm talking about that voice to begin with, and if that voice is critical, we have to look at it for sure.
I don't know. I think about what I do a lot. I try not to be critical about anything that I've done, because there are always reasons for. At least I can make up reasons. It's not a.
Sure.
It's very easy to justify your own behavior, however good or bad. Every person has that. Now, if I have to think of whether my conscience or what a criticism of what I have ever done has stopped me from doing something else, I don't know. I'm not really
sure of that.
Yeah, I would actually go on the other side and say that no, that has never been too bothered. I do analyze what I do. Like, it's probably an every daily process. Like, you spend half an hour before going to bed. In fact, just thinking about the day and what have you done, what have you accomplished, what have you not. And then at a point, I think you're right when you say at a point you realize you haven't accomplished enough. That does happen.
Okay.
That happens, and the older you grow, it happens at a more frequent, more frequent level.
Yeah.
So that part is true. But whether it would stop me from doing something, I think I'm still young. I have to still figure that part out.
Okay.
In 10 years later, we'll probably know if it has stopped me from doing something that.
So I'll call you on the show after 10 years again, of course.
Yeah.
So Karthik, over to you. Ask me any question and we will then build the conversation.
Sure. So this graphology was interesting to me.
Okay.
In terms of when Kavita, our pod mother, as the guys at IVM call her here, when she told me about, absolutely right, and she was like, we're going to start this podcast, and so then I spoke with her about a part of my childhood. My father was a graphologist.
What are you saying?
Yeah, so, and I was a teenager this time, and he took some courses, I think, in graphology. So he used to make me write him letters.
Okay.
Yeah. He used to make me write him letters, and I was a moody teenager.
Okay.
So he was based in Bombay, I was based in Bangalore, and why I find this field interesting now, it's a bit personal. So my dad passed away a little while ago.
Okay.
After that, I look at those letters and the feedback that he's written on those letters.
He had written feedback.
Yeah. So every letter.
Sweet.
As a teenager, I was like, I cannot read this, Papa. Like, what are you telling me? Like, some dot your eyes, or like, I know how to dot my eyes and cross my T's now. You don't have to tell me that. But now when you look at it in that light, I think it is, which is why I was very eager to be here. I do have a lot of those letters with me, so I think it is something
which is a treasure for life.
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
Sometimes when I look back and see how involved our parents were, to have your child write to you, then form some feedback, send it. So just like it's such an involved parenting.
Yeah, and there is feedback like your behavior is too aggressive if you write like this. I'm like, give it a rest. Get even more aggressive as a teenager at that age. But now I cherish the whatever he's written, obviously on those. I'm sure it's and
the act of writing is more like I'm just taking a moment because it's so beautiful for a father to do this, to get to know his son so well. So
I think he cheated me a little, by getting to know me, by making me write some.
Don't say that. That makes my career a cheating career. Don't say that, please.
No, but here I'm coming voluntarily. There, I don't think he did it voluntarily.
He just tricked you into writing your letter.
Hey, you're in Bangalore. Why don't you write me something?
So, I think he was correct about dotting the I's and crossing the T's. It simply means that you have to pay a little more attention. And so give me some form of thinking when you received that feedback? How was it to receive that from your dad?
I think I should, but my handwriting in school, people
Was
keep
different.
telling you to change constantly.
For you, good-looking handwriting.
Yeah, and I could never get it.
So I have this thing about good-looking handwriting. I always tell people that, do you think a good-looking person will become a great spouse? They said, not necessarily. I said, yeah, same is applicable to your handwriting. If your handwriting is good-looking, that does not mean anything about
it. Yeah, no, but then now, considering this is a podcast and people can't see it, but the way I do write is I write a lot of individual letters.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So I was never able to write in a flow.
Right.
Like a complete. I always thought I'll write this way, write that way, but nothing ever worked out.
Okay.
I always felt childish.
So because your handwriting is more disconnected. So disconnected handwriting is considered, technically, because all of us followed British way of writing, which is cursive and convent style and all of that. But for Indians, disconnected writing is a better writing. I'm saying this very, very clearly because it is more intuitive, it's more innovative. We also have this Indian concept of jugaad, that we try to create fixes in everything. That comes from your disconnected writing. So your original, even any southern script or Devanagari script are disconnected.
Correct.
You then put one line on top only for Devanagari, and for southern languages you don't even have that. So that's literally a form of disconnected handwriting. You rarely have connections the way English or like British writing has. So we have adapted to that, and we have kind of tried being them in so many ways, including writing. But original handwriting, Indian handwriting, would be more disconnected for sure.
Yeah,
which is, I think, part of who we are. So
I guess so. But
so handwritings are culturally driven. So you literally have different cultures representing different strokes and styles in handwriting. So for your handwriting, as I was saying, is more South Indian. It is more disconnected. It's smaller in size. It is with heavy pressure. So many things which are like very southern kind of writing style.
Absolutely. My handwriting I know is small, and then for anyone listening, Aditi comes and tells me write a full page, and I'm like, it's going to take me half an hour to fill up this page. So at the halfway stage, we were like, okay, this is
done. Enough. I think we are getting late for the show.
No, but I've always written this way, I think, since the longest I know. And the other thing, I don't know if Graphology covers this or not. Maybe you can help me. Our signatures.
Yeah, of course it does.
Of course it does. Okay. So every bank account I open,
yes,
any bank account I go to, I get abused. And I have to sign, those forms that come, your signatures don't match.
35 times, 40 times, that one.
So I have to keep signing, and they're like, this is never going to work. So I keep going, even if I have to go deposit some money, they'll be like, sir, signature is not matching. But then in this day and age, they look past it because I am physically standing there. So I'm like, I'm right here. I can't help it. But that is one thing I have never got. And I've seen people having these
consistent signature. So to your relief, I must say this, that nobody's signature, and I mean nobody's signature, is identical.
You mean when a person does it twice? Or
any time you sign and then you pick up your pen and you sign even after 1 second or 5 seconds, your signature won't be identical to a technical, like for me as a graphologist or a technical mind or somebody who's trained into it, it's always different. But if your signature does not match in the bank, that means it is so far away from one another that it feels inconsistent to them. That to me, that trait would be that you are highly curious.
Okay.
So you keep jumping from one point to another, and when you're involved in something, you get absorbed in that idea, that thing, that project. So literally, when you come out, you're in a way colored differently. Then you get into something else, you're colored differently, and you love that experience. As a person, you love to jump in, give your 100%, experience something fully, and then make up your mind about it. You would not make up your mind on a periphery. You would not make up your mind based on other people's opinions and ideas. You're like, I'll see how it works for me. I'll give it a shot if I'm interested. But I will give an honest, complete shot to it. Now, when you do that as a life process, it changes you, alters you every now and then. And you do that a lot. So thereby you change a lot, and thereby your signature changes a lot. Also, signature is your public image. So being a reserved person, you do not always feel comfortable working with people, dealing with people, talking to people all the time. So you have created this public persona, which is your go-to image that you jump into to feel comfortable with them. All of us have that. To the degree that you have, you try changing it every now and then.
No, I do a lot of theatre acting as well.
Oh.
So I think it comes from...
So this is literally like responding. In acting, we have this concept about being... I remember my acting teacher spoke about this, that anytime you get into a scene, you literally negotiate the space between that conversation. So it's never like a decided mind.
Yeah.
So you do that a lot in practice everywhere you go. So in public scenario, you're constantly negotiating. That changes your public persona, and thereby a signature which represents your public persona.
No, it would be, to be very honest. Again, what I'm sitting here and showcasing with you as well, I probably won't behave like this outside, sitting with you outside as well. It is because there's a mic here and because we're mic'd up and on. So on that level, yeah, and I had two more things to say actually from what
Please.
you... based on what you were saying as well about making your own opinions. This I feel is extremely true.
Okay.
I was not able to put it in words until pretty recently, where for anything, I think it's extremely important to, even if it's a small thing as a movie.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll get a lot of reviews saying
Right.
Bhagi 3 sucks. If you really want to know whether Tiger Shroff is good or not in that movie, you have to watch it and form your own opinion.
Wow.
There is no other way. You may enjoy a reviewer, and I do quite a few of them, but to know for yourself
whether you want to give it
it's good or not, because you and that reviewer, he or she, will not think the same.
True.
So you have to form your own opinions about everything, and if you do not have knowledge about said subject, you are not going to be able to form an opinion about what you want. And then I would rather be someone who doesn't have an opinion about that thing, and then that disassociation happens at that level. Like, I can't contribute to this conversation.
Karthik, that's so interesting, because most of the time people believe that they can look at few reviewers and they can give Google a chance to feed them some information to have an opinion. So the struggle or the journey for people is towards forming an opinion as soon as possible. For you, you're actually speaking about the contrary approach. You're saying, no, I don't have to have an opinion. I'm okay not having an opinion instead of having a shallow one.
This is a recent thing as well. That it's over the last few years. And
I don't think it's recent. I think your realization of it is...
realization of it.
Because from childhood you're like that.
Sure.
Literally
I think this is the introspection that comes in with but yeah, it was actually, this is very, very topical as well. The other day we watch a lot of movies, and me and my friends, the Oscars just happened.
Oh yeah.
So
have you watched Parasite?
So here's the thing.
Okay.
Now, because usually we do this, and then we have it's probably not legal, but we have a small pool where we'll bet and see who'll between the few of us, where we'll see who'll win. So these are now, usually we just do it because we would have watched a fair chunk. Now in this season, a few other things, and I haven't seen a single film.
Oh, I also realized I missed so many of them.
Except The Joker. I haven't seen a single movie, so I was like, I'm out of this. I cannot. I really don't have an opinion this year to give.
Wow, so
about,
true.
Yeah,
people are clapping for Parasite, and we don't know how to react because we have no clue about the movie.
Yeah. So, that's the way it is. And the third thing about a signature.
Yes.
Now that you mentioned that the banks will tell you that your signature doesn't match, so it's. At one point, I think it was 10 odd years ago when I was opening my account. So probably when I was 18, when I was at that age, and I had given up. So my dad is a banker, so he was very...
He's a banker and a graphologist.
The
oh my God!
Was on the...
No, but imagine a banker must be seeing so many signatures.
I think which is why he got into it.
Yeah, I did my first internship with ICICI Bank.
Okay.
And my job was to literally take the DMAT account form and get them filled. And you know how many times you have to sign. And I got absorbed in it. People just wonder why would I stare at the form so much? But that was my decisive moment. I said, I'm doing this for life. This is so fascinating. So banks,
I guess it probably came from there. So I had given up. I was like, I'm not going to sign anymore. I just started writing my name.
Okay.
As Kartik Iyer. And I think at some level, maybe I should have just stuck with that.
Okay.
Then I tried going back into, because I saw everyone signing. Then
Cool sign,
let's
yeah.
now, in any college form, you just start some illegible, like it was nonsense. Like you can't, at least a signature should at some level, I feel, be legible.
Okay.
I don't get signatures that are just, I don't know, scribbling going
Yeah,
there.
okay.
Like, so, but yeah, that's
So
the way.
what's the question?
No, it was just an observation that
So people told me that they scribble so that the signatures won't be duplicated, or they have illegible signatures, or those circles and complicated whatever designing around it. Now I was talking to Mr. KV Kamath, and I asked him. People asked me this question:
Yeah.
why the signatures are legible, and what is the scene with banks? Do they really care? And he said his signature is very legible. So he said that's not true, If their signature is illegible, it can be copied or forged very easily. If it is legible, there are so many points where we can match or not match the signature.
that
So
way.
we would know whether it is forged or not. So it's actually contrary to the common belief that we have about signatures.
Okay.
So this is the illegible part. I think it came from just following the style. Or
and I guess
copying.
the idea that nobody should be able to copy.
Or actually read, because if you believe nobody can read, then they can't copy. However, your signature, if it is illegible, it is easier to be copied. Because then you're dragging, right? You don't give every letter the chance it requires to be formed fully. So and then if somebody observes a pattern, that can be copied, including you. You can't copy your own signature because you don't have forms.
Yeah, I don't have form. I don't have a style.
It's literally because I'm saying that because for listeners, the signature is illegible.
Yeah.
So you kind of you don't see the full form.
I just do something there. I really don't. There's a K I know at the start, and then it's just.
And it happens.
Yeah.
The signature happens pretty much.
I close my eyes. Maybe now I'm going to go to each and every bank, take out that form, and just write my name there as neatly as possible. I think that will.
Not as neatly, like decide a style and then do that.
Oh, this is tough. Yeah. Why can't we just get rid of signatures? I don't understand it.
What would I do professionally? Don't say that.
I'm not saying writing, I'm just saying signatures.
Okay. So I feel signature is like that wedding gown or that special occasion thing that we give so much of significance to, and we are told that once you sign, that's going to be a permanent signature.
Yeah.
So with our teenage minds, we try to do something and we stay stuck with it. For many people that is marriage too, but that's what happens. You choose whatever is the best at that moment, and that remains your public image. So that significance creates all the emotions in signature. So signature is about you trying to project yourself out there socially. At the same time, it gives information about what you don't know, what you're talking to people about, what signals you're giving. So for example, you said people tell me I'm snobbish, but I know. But imagine if you wouldn't have known that about you. Signature would have still spoken about it. We have some habits, sometimes we snap, we don't realize. The signature, being a public image, gives that information away. Okay. So it's kind of very interesting space, but I see your point. Legally and otherwise, it's not important anymore.
Yeah, I don't want to be sweating every time I write a check to someone saying, "Ye to bounce hone wala hai."
Or it will come back for signature, and they make you pay for it, right?
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so just one more thing, if you'll indulge me.
Please.
In terms of we spoke, you pointed out, based on what I've written, you pointed out a few things that, we agreed on, and I feel that it is my personality, a lot of it.
Yeah.
Now, if someone has to, we'll work in reverse. If someone has to change the way they are,
okay,
do you have to change and then will your handwriting change, or can it work the other way around as well? This is just for me to understand.
So I believe every time, have you noticed your handwriting change from when you were in school to college?
Yes.
It keeps changing. That's because you're constantly changing, and handwriting is like a mirror that represents what is happening within. Now, can you change the mirror image to change who you are? Not really.
Probably not. Yeah,
that doesn't
can't.
work.
Yeah.
But here, because it's a body and mind coordination, you can train your body in a certain way to change some parts of your thinking. Not everything. But what you're referring to is officially called graphotherapy. So graphology, graphology is where you study the graph, and graphotherapy is where you use handwriting as a reverse mechanism. So when I started very early. I was 19 when I became a professional. So I used to get fascinated by how people had some common in not incorrect strokes but challenges. So they had common fears, they had common issues, common anxiety points. So I said, what if I asked them to reverse it? But I didn't want to tell them because I didn't know whether it would really change or not.
Right.
So I didn't tell them what stroke I was changing as therapy. I just gave them some strokes and asked them to practice. To my surprise, people came back and they told me what had changed for them. How changing whatever I had given them changed them. So they did not know what I was working on, but the stories were similar. So for example, I gave you a stroke, say letter Y, and I gave it to 3 other people. You didn't know what I was working on, but all of you came back to tell me similar stories. And that blew my mind. So I have worked for last 15 years now.
Oh, wow.
To change certain strokes in people, to change certain behaviors. So diabetes, insomnia, anxiety, so many deep issues that people have been suffering for a very long time. They disappear. They kind of become non-existent, or they come and you can control it within like 45 days. Which was for me like a great way of looking at therapy, because as a therapist, or I work as a high performance coach, you want to change a behavior, but also you want to do it in a way that you can use that new formed behavior. Right? You don't want to change it one fine day, after 5 years it would go away. So that happened with graphotherapy. So I'm a big fan of this. As a curious student of the subject, which you are like when you're a professional, I feel you give that medicine or you give that therapy, and what comes out is fascinating. It blows my mind. So I'm curious and fascinated by this almost every now and then when I see it with people.
I'm sorry, I'm becoming the questioner here, but does it upset you that people don't write enough anymore?
I am on the secret mission. I'm on the secret mission to get people to write a little bit more. Like if they journal a bit more, get to physically writing. I feel this is one of the activities where you can't multitask, and all of us take pride in multitasking, right? We are on 5 apps at the same time. We are like looking at 3 things. But when you do that, you're constantly training your mind. It is okay to be unavailable to most of the things you're doing. Handwriting and writing is a skill you require to be there. As you experienced just now, if you had to write, we were talking in the room and you were not available to us. You were writing, and if you were paying attention to us, you couldn't write. So it's literally like being in the moment, fully being present. All the things that we talk about, as a life, I want to be mindful, all of that. Here, you have a simple act of writing, and pretty much 10 minutes a day, which can get you to be mindful in the moment.
I'll tell you what, I'm a journalist. My living is based on writing, but I do not use pen and paper anymore. It's all about, except to maybe like in a meeting, if you want to pretend like you're making some notes.
And you're like really interested.
That's about it. But otherwise, it's a phone, your laptops.
I hear you. It's just that, if you do as a disciplined method, and how after coming all the way to eating, coming to the point where we're eating fancy food and super fast food, we're going back to organic food. It's like organic writing and pretty much becoming the ancient science of like really calming your mind. So I look at it as therapy to begin with. It's not about what you write, but the act of writing. For most people, also I would give them a question to write for 7 days. The same question, you explore it. That becomes a therapy of writing.
Okay.
Or if you journal you look at your day in a certain way, then that becomes therapy of writing.
Okay, so there is something I follow. Again, this is a patented secret. It's not. But this is what I do every night. Okay, so there is... if I have something that's running in my head, a question that I want an answer to. It can be anything. It could be a script that I'm writing and I'm not able to go past a plot point.
Okay.
I will write that question on a post-it note. Okay. And I will stick it on the board of my bed where I sleep. Okay. And just keep it behind me. That's the last thing I do, say, for the night.
And that's a brilliant thing that you do.
Yeah.
That's amazing for the listeners who are not aware of it. So your mind goes through multiple changes, and especially when you relax, your brain, your body is going through multiple, shifts through the night. And if you have a question that you leave yourself with, your mind is busy processing. Whatever happens through the day is processed, whether you're aware or not. And that's why mornings are fresher or not. If you're still stuck up with that previous idea, your mind is not fresh in the morning. But leaving a conscious or a desired or like a, deliberate question there, it's a great space, because when you wake up and you tell me, do you feel more resourceful around that question?
I do. And sometimes, again, this is not some deep-seated question which
Of
has
course.
like
Yeah, it
crazy
doesn't
emotional
matter,
impact.
yeah.
Sometimes I write the simplest things.
Yeah.
Like, will my favorite football team win tomorrow? Or like, who should they play instead of whom? You know, and,
Yeah.
but sometimes it becomes a serious topic as well. And I love this habit has been there for about 4-5 years now.
So Karthik, as we are on this topic,
Yeah.
let me just talk about this idea
Sure.
of questions versus answers.
Okay.
We are so used to seeking answers. We are constantly looking at, oh, I have this problem, let me fix this. Oh, I have this situation, let me find the best possible answer. And we're so busy doing that. Now, answers are definitive, answers are conclusive, whereas questions are exploratory. As a generation, or as a, Google has totally spoiled us. So we are like, oh, if I have a problem, I'm going to get to my answer very quickly. Whereas exploratory way of like, okay, what would happen? I do not know. But let me just ponder about
Right.
it. Or let me leave that question. Opens different perspectives. So I believe all of us are constantly operating from my limited idea of life. All of us have some idea and we keep repeating that idea again and again, and then we feel stuck. But when you use question, which is, like, what would be the best possible solution here? Not like, oh, is this a best possible solution? When you say what would be, you're open to any best possible solution. You say, what should be my approach to solve this problem? You are opening your mind to so-called nature's Google mechanism. So you literally get options which you haven't considered before. And doing it before going to bed is one of the best things to do.
Yeah.
It's so cool. It's like a cool hack. Like I love these mind hacks. I feel we are, whether you like it or not, as we live life, we're constantly programming ourselves.
Yeah, of course.
So having the hack to like know how I'm programming myself is like a little extra edge.
And you're right about not even expecting definite answers. When I started this process, it started because sometimes I wanted actual answers, like a yes or a no. But now it has reached a stage where I don't need that definitive answer. I just want time to ponder about it. Maybe it happens in my sleep. Many times it does. And then you wake up with
clarity
of thought in a way that maybe it'll lead you towards that answer that you're looking for, but it may not be the yes or no, and that's
or
fine.
at times the question itself drops.
Yeah,
like you're like,
for
oh,
sure.
It wasn't that significant. So you are not like bothered about it, or you're not. There's no mind space for that question left. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. So that's like a new hack for us to look at. So, which is your favorite character? Like in movies, which is your favorite? You're like such a Bollywood buff.
Oh, Bollywood.
Or any
Bollywood
movie.
Would be. So immediately when you said it, I thought Batman.
Oh, okay. No, I like Bollywood. Come on, we have to. It's football, shootball, right? So yeah, Bollywood.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you can.
No, I'm just asking like characters you identify with, like that. So Batman is that.
No, for some reason you pick between Karan or Arjun in that movie. I could go with either one. Yeah.
Oh, you're like either one are good.
Either one.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a preference between them. That
Okay.
movie has always stuck with me. So yeah.
Isn't it Subhash Ghai's movie?
Okay, I don't know the answer to that. It's
Okay,
probably
I
no.
don't think. Yeah, okay.
But he's nodding his head there as sound engineer.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay.
no.
No, sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just felt. I think it's more of the movie and when they were dragged behind on horses and all, and so I felt it's a pretty cool place to be being dragged behind.
Oh yeah.
then you die and then you come back when.
And your mother is
when
there.
she wants you, like you're right there. So. Yeah,
So Karan or Arjun?
Karan or Arjun.
Okay. So I also feel like we get influenced by characters we identify with. So Batman, let's talk about Batman.
Yeah, it's I like superheroes.
Okay.
I'm not one of those. I don't watch and I don't obsess over them too much.
Okay.
Or at least I do them in my private time and I don't speak about it. So it's one of those guilty pleasures.
Superheroes.
Yeah, you never know. Like you shouldn't go through Google search history on my phone.
Yeah, okay, alrighty then.
Yeah.
You'll find like superheroes.
But I've liked the story. I've always liked the fact that it was so corny and cheesy earlier, and I liked him then as well when it used to have those bat nipples, where the entire costume and there were those two nipples that were on the outside. But I think George Clooney used to wear the costume at that point. So I liked him from then, and just because it became darker and cooler,
Now
the love only increases towards that particular character. But yeah, I mean, about personality wise, when I look at it, start looking for flaws only.
Okay.
Like to start off with, like the other day, another famous franchise, Harry Potter. A couple of my friends are now starting to diss those characters. Like we have read it when we were kids.
Yeah, that we fell in love, and now you're like, oh, overrated.
Yeah, he's an idiot. He doesn't do anything. His friends help him out the entire time.
Hermione!
Like they're the smart ones, not this geeky guy with glasses and a scar.
Yeah, makes sense. So that's what is happening now. That's part of growing up.
Yeah.
So Karthik, do you have any other question for me that I can answer?
Particularly, no.
Okay.
No.
So I'm going to leave you with 2-3 points to think about. So the first point that comes to my mind is when you begin a project, the excitement levels are much higher. And you know that intellectually solving a problem is your creative juice. You love it. You know till the point you are in that process, you literally pick moments where you can savor those stimulations and you know that those areas, and you reach a point where you're like, yeah, okay, now my problem solving is done. The remaining execution you're very happy to delegate. And you know you're like, okay, now you solve it, or you do it, or you kind of execute what I have said. So if you feel caught in that detailing execution where you're not feeling stimulated, that is your point of feeling frustrated. You know, like you're done with your part of problem solving. Now you have to do the so-called mundane according
the
to you.
delivery of the entire,
that time you get like slightly frustrated. Second point is you love taking responsibilities of others on your head, especially people you love. And you kind of like, if you want to be responsible, a great friend, great spouse, you know, be there, you would do everything it takes to deliver. So it's exactly opposite of what I said. So when it is about like, you know, solving a problem, you're like, okay, solve problem, now you deliver. Whereas when it comes to relationships, it changes. So, you know, we were talking about the different persona here. So workspace is different. But when you're responsible for a friend, you will do anything. For your spouse, you'll do anything. You'll just go out of your way to make sure it is done exactly how you thought it should be done. So that's like a contrary, but second point. It also exhausts you. Like sometimes you'll get like super tired being responsible for other people. So think about it.
Okay.
Yeah. Third point is you do get irritated.
Oh yeah.
And you do not show it, or you think you're not showing it, but that irritation on very, very small thing, not on big things. Like big things you can like, you know, deal with, but on a daily basis, small things being all over the place, they get to you. And they get to you in a way, they build that internal frustration quite a bit. So these were the 3 points I wanted to leave you with.
Which is true as well.
So if people tell you that you're getting irritated and you're denying it, next time just think about it for a moment and say, probably I need to look at it.
So that's a good way of it, actually. Yeah. I do deny it.
Yeah,
like
I know. In front of
you
them.
You probably get more irritated.
Yes. Like, you think I'm irritated. What do you think about me? Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair. Okay. Yeah.
So, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you too. Yeah.
It was a very unusual conversation. You became an interviewer and I answered.
But then I'm a journalist now.
Yeah,
so a little
okay,
bit
fine.
it all roles
so
will
give it
reverse.
to you now. On that one we give it to you. Okay, done. Thank you so much,
Thank
Karthik.
you.